Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Welcome back to the Slippery Slope podcast. I am Jay Fallon, obviously. So today I want to talk about what's going on this week. Okay, obviously we had this address by the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. So I want to talk about something that I've covered before, but it's becoming impossible to ignore it. We are watching what I believe is the rise of what I will call soft totalitarianism. It's not the old school authoritarianism with with tanks or tanks in the streets and soldiers at your door. No, it's a modern Western version. It's subtle, it's polished, it's wrapped in the language of safety, misinformation for the public good, and the national address delivered by your PM Anthony Albanese the other night is a perfect example of how this works. So let me be clear. It's not about attacking the man, the one man. This is about analyzing a pattern of leadership that has become common across Western democracies, a pattern where governments increasingly rely on fear, urgency, and crisis framing to shape public behavior. Because when you can control the narrative, you don't need to control the people by force, they control themselves. So Albanese appears on every major television network. It's a rare primetime national address to warn Australians about a looming fuel crisis triggered by conflict in the Middle East. He tells us to expect months of economic pain. He urges people not to panic buy fuel. He encourages us to use public transport where possible. Now on the surface, that sounds like reasonable leadership. But when you look deeper, you can see the cracks because this so-called crisis didn't appear out of nowhere. It was predictable, it was foreseeable, it was preventable. Australia has known for years that we have no meaningful fuel security, no long term reserves, no domestic refining capacity, and no diversified supply chain. So, experts have warned about this repeatedly. Defense analysts have warned, economists have warned about it, even the government's own reports have warned. But nothing's changed because if nothing changes, then nothing will change. And now, when the consequences finally arrive, the government frames it as an unavoidable emergency. And we're told to stay calm, trust the process, avoid misinformation. This is the pattern. This is the script. This is soft totalitarianism. And that's control through fear, not force. Soft totalitarianism doesn't need to break down your door, it just needs to break down your confidence. It uses fear based messaging, vague warnings. We've seen that building. Obviously, we all remember what happened just a few years ago in the great pandemic that went on. These vague warnings, everyone, if you don't do this, absolute catastrophe for you and everyone. But it's all very vague. Emotional appeals, crisis language, and the constant reminder that the government knows best. What I believe is the government is replacing God. The government is put themselves in there as God. They ignored God. They've denied God. They've denied the existence of God, but they've placed themselves as God. Uh, it's not do this or else. It's do this because it's safe. It's do this because misinformation is dangerous. And it's do this because we're all in this together. We're all in this together. So come on, let's go and do this. And the moment you question it, you're told you're being irresponsible or paranoid or spreading misinformation. This is how modern governments expand control without ever appearing authoritarian. They don't force compliance, they manufacture it. And this all brings me to the second part of this episode, the manufactured crisis industry. Governments and media have learned something very powerful. Fear is the most effective political currency in the world. Fear keeps people compliant. Fear keeps people distracted. Fear keeps people dependent on authority. So what do we see? A constant cycle of new emergencies, new warnings, new threats, new reasons to stay informed, new justifications for government intervention. And the Albanese address fits perfectly into this pattern. Instead of long-term planning, we get last-minute warnings. Instead of leadership, we get crisis management. Instead of vision, we get fear. And the media amplifies it because fear sells. Fear keeps people watching. Fear keeps people clicking. Fear keeps people anxious, and anxious people are easier to influence. This is not accidental. This is not random. This is a system that they've created. So this is how I see Australia's leadership and what Australia's leadership problem is. And I've spoken about this a lot when I've talked about issues within the Queensland Police. And that is the leadership has no vision, there's no planning, there's no risk assessments. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Australia does not do long-term planning. We don't do serious risk assessments. We don't prepare for predictable crises. We react, we scramble, we blame external forces, and then we act shocked when the consequences arrive, whether it's fires, floods, pandemics, supply chain failures, or fuel shortages. We always seem to be caught off guard. This isn't bad luck, this is bad leadership. Leadership requires foresight. Leadership requires courage. Leadership requires the willingness to make hard decisions before the crisis hits, not after. And that's what we are missing. Now let's bring this back to Scripture, because the Bible speaks directly to this moment. The Bible warns repeatedly about deception, false assurances, and the misuse of power. It tells us to be discerning, to test everything, and to avoid being swept up in fear. And then there's the verse that cuts right through the heart of this entire issue. In 2 Timothy 1:7, it says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Fear does not come from God. Manipulation does not come from God. Confusion does not come from God. A sound mind, clarity, discernment, truth, that's what God gives. And that's exactly what governments and media try to take away when they rely on crisis narratives to control public behaviour. Because a fearful population is easy to manage, but a discerning population is impossible to manipulate. So when you see national addresses framed around fear, when you see governments warning about misinformation, when you see media amplifying crisis after crisis, when you see leadership that reacts instead of preparing, recognize the pattern. This is soft totalitarianism. This is the manufactured crisis machine. This is how modern societies are controlled, not by force, but by fear. And the only antidote is truth, courage, and a sound mind. As always, this is just my opinion. I'm Jay Fallon, and thanks for listening to the Slippery Slope podcast.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna stop me now. No more demons to be done. No nothing's gonna just focus on me. stop me now.